You know, you say it takes a while for a classic TV series to hit its, what do you call, its marquee level. Star Trek The Next Generation, the majority of the first season episodes were not terrible, but they weren't all encompassing. Season 2, it improved when Mulder left and Gates McFadden came back. It brought it a certain level, but to me, the highlight of the first several seasons of Star Trek, besides the Borg two-parter, was this one. When I watched it, it was quite chilling because it seemed like a 2-hour movie in a 1-hour frame, and I think it would have been done better to make it a 90-minute or 2-hour episode. It's called Yesterday's Enterprise. Now, the 63rd episode of Star Trek The Next Generation is the 15th episode of the third season, first airing in syndication Valentine's Week, February 19, 1990. Set in the 24th century, of course, the series follows the adventures of the Starfleet crew of the Federation Starship D. In this ep, the ship's crew must decide whether to send the time-traveling Enterprise C back through a temporal rift to a certain destruction to prevent damaging changes to her timeline. Now, the plot of the episode was based on the merging of two stories. One featured the crew of the time-traveling Enterprise C, another return of Denise Crosby, whose character Tasha Yar had been killed in the series' first season. Of course, the actress Denise Crosby has said many times she was asked to be killed off the show because she wasn't given much to do in that first season. And this allowed her to come back and her daughter, but let's not give away too much of the plot. Now, Trent Christopher Ganino and Eric A. Stillwell rewrote the merged story to feature the character of Guinan, played by the underrated Whoopi Goldberg, more prominently. To complete the episode in time for sweeps, the final script was finished by a team of 5 writers. Now, filming of the episode lasted a week, with some elements of the script ultimately not included due to time constraints. In syndication, Yesterday's Enterprise outperformed most of the third season episodes with a 13.1 Nielsen rating, the third highest number for the series at the time. The episode was cited as a favorite by crew members and reviewers, and again is widely regarded as one of the best episodes of the series. Now, in this one, the Enterprise D encounters a rift in space-time. The crippled USS Enterprise C, a ship believed destroyed more than 2 decades earlier, emerges. The Enterprise D undergoes a radical change from its previous timeline. It is now a warship, and the United Federation of Planets is at war with the Klingons. Neither Worf nor Counselor Troy are present, and Tasha Yar, killed years before an original timeline, runs a tactical station. Only Guinan senses that the reality has shifted and meets with Captain Picard. She suggests that the Enterprise C must return to the past. Picard, knowing this would be a suicide mission, refuses to give such an order based on Guinan's intuition alone. Now, Captain Rachel Garrett of Enterprise C and her crew learned they've traveled into the future. Garrett explains that it responded to a direct stress call from a Klingon outpost on the Narendra Tree and were attacked by Romulan starships. Now, while his crew repairs the Enterprise C, Picard and his command staff discuss whether the ship should return to the past. Riker argues that their deaths would be meaningless, but Data suggests that it would be considered an honorable act by the Klingons. Picard discusses the situation to Garrett, revealing to her that the Federation is on the verge of defeat and one more ship will make no difference. It's a very interesting scene because by third season, Patrick Stewart is playing Picard so effectively. In this scene where he lowers his voice, you know something is going on. Now, he theorizes that the Enterprise C returns to the past. They might prevent the war from starting. Garrett agrees and tells her crew they will return through the anomaly. The two ships are ambushed by a Klingon bird of prey. Garrett is killed, and her helmsman, Richard Castillo, who is love at first sight with Tasha, takes command. Of course, the great Christopher McDonald played Castillo. Now, during the repair efforts, Yar again becomes close to Castillo, but is unnerved by tense interactions with Guinan. Guinan reveals that she knows Yar dies a meaningless death in the other timeline, of course, the episode Skin of Evil. Yar requests a transfer to the Enterprise C. As the Enterprise C prepares to return through the anomaly, 3 Klingon battlecruisers attack. With the anomaly becoming unstable, Picard orders the Enterprise D to recover the Enterprise C withdrawal. The Enterprise D suffers massive systems damage and major crew losses, including the death of Riker. With the Enterprise D on the brink of destruction, the Enterprise C traverses the anomaly, triggering the return of Enterprise D's previous timeline. Guiden, the only one subtly aware of what has transpired, asks Jory to LaForge to tell her about Yar. And of course, it starts off where she's connecting with Worf over his what he called romantic preferences and the fact he's never had prune juice before. And this is a future connection with the family episode after the Borg two-parter. Now, at the beginning of Star Trek's third season, Michael Pillar became the head writer for the series. Among the changes he implemented was the opening of the story submission process to non-pros and upper unrepresented writers. Despite Paramount Television's resistance to the change, The Next Generation became the first show produced in Hollywood to allow such writers to submit their scripts. The studio received more than 5,000 scripts in a year. Now, among them submitted by freelancer aspiring writers was one by Trent Christopher Ganino. His speculative script, submitted to the Office of Pre-Production Associate Eric Stillwell in April '89, was titled Yesterday's Enterprise. The story involved the Enterprise D response to a crisis in the Goldsean sector and encounter with Enterprise C, which had been destroyed 18 years earlier. The crew of the Enterprise C is in awe of the newer ship's technology, and Picard is confronting with whether to reveal to his guests their ultimate fate. As an Enterprise C ensign accidentally discovers the fate of his vessel and panics, requiring Worf and Riker to capture him after he attempts to escape. When Galosian warships attack, Picard defends the Enterprise C using the same maneuver that caused the vessel's destruction in the past. The ensign goes back to his ship, which returns to the past and its certain destruction. Now, due to a backlog of scripts, the processing of draft submissions could take anywhere from weeks to a year. Ganino's script was logged on May 2nd and first read later that month by Richard Manning, a co-producer of the writing staff. Manning commented that the draft was not horrible, not particularly original, but good in spots, lousy in others. The review was enough to keep the script in circulation. Now, when the spec script was seen by Melinda Snodgrass, who was story editor, a post-it note was attached declaring the story an interesting idea. A coverage of the script, which outlined the plot and provided creative feedback, was written in August. This analysis called the script a good effort by an upper-represented writer and considered the script's weak characterization and plot issues correctable. The main issue is whether the producers wanted to do a show with time travel. Now, Ganino and Stillman eventually struck up a friendship and began to develop ideas for other episodes. Gene Roddenberry had distributed a memo that said the return of Leonard Nimoy as Spock would be unlikely due to financial considerations and suggested that a reasonable alternative would be to feature Mark Lenard, who played Spock's father Sarek. During the same period, Stillwell met Denise Crosby, who played Tasha in the series' first season, at an '89 fan convention in San Jose. Over dinner, Crosby admitted she missed being part of the series and suggested that Stillwell write a script to bring her back her character, who was killed off in Skin of Evil. Ganino and Stillwell began to work on script ideas that would involve both Yar and Sarek. Now, Ganino and Stillwell were particularly fans of the two episodes from the original Star Trek series, The Time Travel Mirror Mirror and The City on the Edge of Forever, and wanted to combine elements from them for a next-gen episode. They came up with a story involving a team of Vulcans investigating the Guardian of Forever. In the past, the founder of modern Vulcan logic, Surak, is killed, causing massive changes to the timeline. The Romulans and Vulcans joined forces to attack the Federation. Worf is no longer a crew member on the Enterprise, and Yar remains alive. Sarek and the Vulcans by the Guardian are the only people not affected by the timeline change, and in the end, Sarek returns to the past and takes Surak's place, restoring the timeline. Now, after Ganino pitched the new script, Pilar suggested to producer Rick Berman that the story, not the script, be purchased. In a meeting, Pilar told Ganino that he wanted to make changes to the story, which included the addition of Yar. Fearing that what they considered a better story would be lost if the changes were made to yesterday's Enterprise, Stillwell talked to Pilar and pitched their Guardian Forever story. While intrigued by elements of the script, Pilar felt the use of the Guardian was a gimmick and wanted the Next Generation to stand on its own. Instead, Pilar suggested that he merge the two stories, with Stillwell and Ganino sharing writing credit. Pilar suggested that the Enterprise crew would immediately undergo a transformation due to the presence of the older Enterprise, and that Guiden would be integral to the realization that something was wrong. Ganino and Stillwell were given 2 weeks to complete their new story. Now, the duo completed their new story in about a week. The writers spent hours a day at Stillwell's apartment working over every detail. They felt pressure to write a story Pilar would find acceptable, and he wanted to have the opportunity to write the teleplay. The story treatment was turned in on October 10th, and Pilar immediately decided to purchase the story and distributed the treatment to the writing staff while he discussed changes. He felt that Data's romantic feelings for Yar were over the top, and that an alien probe, which served as a central part of the story, was a cheat in terms of resolving Picard's dilemma. The writer wanted Ganito and Stillwell to enhance Guinan's role and to find another character arc for Tasha Yar. A revised treatment was submitted on October 29th, incorporating Pilar's changes. The writers were not involved in the development of the teleplay, and they were paid, get this, $2,400. Now, the production of the episode, originally scheduled for January 1990, was moved to December 1989 to accommodate the filming availability of Crosby and Goldberg, who played Guinan. The task of writing and polishing the new treatment at half the time fell upon writer Ronald D. Moore, who submitted his first draft on November 9th. Moore's script removed the alien probe and made the alternate universe militaristic, with the Federation and the Klingons at war. Some characters, such as Troy, appeared only briefly at the beginning of the episode to allow more screen time for guest characters. The beat sheet for the episode, which detailed characters and scenes, was distributed on November 27th. Now, due to time constraints, a team of writers were assigned to write the teleplay. In addition to the story credit given to Ganino and Stillwell, Moore, Ira Seven Barr, Hans Beamer, and Richard Manning would work on the teleplay. Now, there needed to be a new design, and a production meeting allowed the different scale of the changes, and the final draft was submitted on December 8th. Now, the studio decided to increase the episode's budget, which at the time was estimated by Daily Variety at $1.2 million per spec. This gave the production of the departments more leeway. One reason for the increase was that Yesterday's Enterprise would air during February sweeps, an important time for the studio to attract solid ratings. As The Next Generation was syndicated directly by the studio, the episode's performance will affect advertising revenue for the future. Now, when the ship's design changed, it built off an old sketch. Darker, a different design, clothing a little bit different, but very, straight. Now, filming on the episode began December 11, 1989 and lasted for 7 days. David Carson directed, would only film one other Next Gen episode before Yesterday's Enterprise. Carson felt that his relative lack of experience helped because he had no preconceptions about how episodes should be directed. Since much of the episode took place in a darker alternate universe, Carson wanted to emphasize the toll that decades of war had taken on the crew and bridge. Now, it was more like a submarine type episode. The cameras were equipped with longer lenses than usual in order to reduce the depth of the scenes and provide a grittier feel. Now, Christopher McDonald was picked for Castillo, and of course Tricia O'Neill was cast for similar reasons because they were very strong actors. And Crosby and Goldberg probably did some of the best work of the series. Now, when it was released, it 13.1 on Nielsen ratings. This was for the time period from February 19th to March 4th, a 2-week period. The third highest rating for the series and the highest for the entire season. Usually Star Trek would get 9.8 million viewers, but for this, 12.1. Now, well received by the critics. In a retrospective review, Zank Hadel and the AV Club praised the episode for quickly establishing the premise and stakes, as well as turning Tasha Yar's death in one of the episode's strongest emotional beats. And it was kind of... Denise Crosby knew that there was something left unsaid. Now, a fan favorite, Time magazine called Yesterday's Enterprise as one of the top 10 moments of Star Trek, including TV series and films up to that time. Now, numerous media companies have ranked this episode as one of the top of all time, including Entertainment Weekly and The Hollywood Reporter, and again, as one of the best episodes of all of Star Trek by Empire, IGN, and TV Guide. Now, Star Trek Nemesis and Star Trek writers John Logan and Roberto Orci cite this as one of their favorites. Now, in 2016, Sci-Fi ranked Yesterday's Enterprise as the #1 best time travel plot in Star Trek. Guardian on the Edge of Forever, it's a little bit better, but that's just me. The first home media release of Yesterday's Enterprise was on VHS in '95 in the States and Canada. Yesterday's Enterprise was also included as one of 4 episodes along with Best of Both Worlds, 2 parts, and A Measure of Man, and a DVD collection called The Best of Star Trek The Next Generation. It was also included on the Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3 DVD box set, released in the States in 2002. The Blu-ray of this was released on April 30, 2013. Now, if you look at the episode the first time, you're not going to catch a lot of Easter eggs, but there's a whole bunch of stuff. And certain key characters, including Riker and other background characters, are not as given much to do here. This is a pretty well a Picard, Guinan, Tasha Yar episode where the 3 main characters, Guinan is reacting. Tasha has had a relationship with Guinan for a number of years, sort of like an auntie style. But Picard, Patrick Stewart plays Picard probably the most interesting. You know, it's kind of weird. You look at it in the first season, he was playing the first episodes as kind of dry. And to me, you really caught the character. And this is a very Shakespearean thing because basically he's saying, you know, put yourself in a sword to save us. What you should do, ladies and gentlemen, this is my own personal opinion. If you're going to watch Star Trek, like have a watch party, get the best 3 episodes from season 1, season 2, season 3. Of course, you got to have the Borg episodes, and you're going 12. You can take 24 episodes out of the full Next Generation run. They stand up with any science fiction. When the show was boring, it was boring, but when it was hot, it was hot. And I remember watching this episode. I said, "Geez, they only filmed this in 8 days. Can you imagine if they had 2 weeks?" I would like to see more with the Christopher McDonald character, Castillo, the female captain, more about did Tasha have like a relationship on the Enterprise? Was she solo? You know, because there was always a connection between Worf and Tasha Yar. But how she played Tasha Yar in this, Denise Crosby, as the years have gone on, she's become a better actress or knows more about the part. I think she watched Star Trek Season 2, saw her she wasn't in it, and she learned more about Star Trek and gave the opportunity to come back. But when she played her daughter's character in Redemption, you know, this all leads to yesterday's Enterprise, you would not seen Spock come back. Because it all deals with, you know, like the data episodes and all that. It's all connected. And what's kind of weird about this, the original Star Trek, other than a couple of episodes, there was no, you never look back too much. It was all bottle episodes. But this one is pretty freaky. And, you know, it ranks up there. I hope you take it the right way. It's something like Rod Serling would write. It's kind of got that Night Gallery style to it because you're taking well-established characters and driving them to hell. So, you know, that's the way it goes. By the way, I hope you take it the right way. Aspects of Night Gallery I find is better written by Rod Serling in that age because he had more experience. But I know it's hard to explain. With the amount of writers that Paramount had working on Star Trek, it's hard to keep track because you had to put up upwards from 23 to 26 episodes a season. And this is syndication. They had no showrunner. Like, I mean, the head of the network wouldn't tell them what to do. So it was good and bad. But like I said, this really stands out because each scene in the show is not wasted. There's always something going on. And, you know, even the way Tasha orders, like, with the rations, it's, you know, it's a non-plus. And, you know, Christopher McDonald, you know, he's had some good roles through the years. This is one of his strongest. And I like him as an actor. And I like everybody here. But Denise Crosby, again, a tremendous performance. And there should have been nominations for a lead and supporting actors all around. But, I mean, it's not like now in 2024 where shows like this get nominated, but back then they would never get nominated. They were never taken seriously. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our latest Star Trek podcast. If you like what we're doing here, what our next-gen vintage events, let us know and like, comment, subscribe, or share.